So, have you ever wondered why people believe in things like ghosts or alien abductions or psychics? What is it that makes a really strange idea so compelling? Well, today we're going to dive right into the psychology of belief, and we're basing this on a fantastic talk by Michael Shermer from the Skeptics Society.
Michael Shermer jokes that his team at the Skeptics Society is basically a bunco squad. They're the ones who investigate all sorts of paranormal and pseudoscientific claims. Their whole goal is to call out the bad ideas and, hopefully, replace them with good ones. So, that begs the question, right?
What does a bad idea actually look like out in the real world? Well, Shermer's group was asked to test a device that is a perfect example.
Okay, get this. This is the Quadro 2000 dowser rod. It is, and I'm not kidding here, a piece of plastic with a cheap antenna glued to it. And for $900 a pop, high schoolers were actually buying these things to find marijuana in student lockers. The idea was you'd just walk down the hallway, and if the antenna randomly swung towards a locker, you'd open it up.
Now, I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but the people who were using it were totally convinced it worked. And the reason why reveals one of the biggest blind spots we have in our thinking, the way our brains handle hits and misses.
So here's the million-dollar question. Did the device actually find any marijuana? Well, of course it did. Eventually. I mean, think about it. If you open enough lockers, sooner or later you're going to find something, right? And this is where our brains get completely tripped up. We tend to laser focus on the hit, that one time it seemed to work, and we just conveniently forget all the times it didn't, all the misses.
So to figure out what was really going on, Shermer's team ran a proper, controlled experiment. They put government-approved marijuana in one of two identical boxes and had the operator use the device. And the results? The Quadro 2000 found it 50% of the time. In other words, its accuracy was exactly the same as just flipping a coin.
And this brings us to this huge concept in psychology called confirmation bias. It's our natural, built-in tendency to look for and remember any information that confirms what we already believe, while we totally ignore the stuff that contradicts it. This is the exact mechanism that makes psychics and astrologers seem so legit. We remember the one spooky detail they got right and completely forget the 10 things they got totally wrong.
And this right here? This is the fundamental difference between real science and pseudoscience. Pseudoscience only shows you the highlight reel. It just cherry-picks the hits. But science is a process. It's a verb. It demands that you record everything, the hits, the misses, the whole shebang, to see if an idea can actually stand up to scrutiny.
Okay, so if we can't always trust our gut feelings about these hits and misses, what can we use instead? Well, this brings us to our next big idea, a really powerful tool for thinking clearly that we can call the skeptic's razor. It all comes down to asking one simple question. What's the more likely explanation?
All right, let's do a few quick ones. What's more likely here? That interdimensional beings traveled across the vastness of space just to cut a pretty pattern in some corn? Or that a clever skeptic used Photoshop to make a cool image? Okay, how about this one? What's more likely, that Arnold Schwarzenegger's campaign for governor was secretly being backed by aliens, or that a tabloid newspaper just makes stuff up? Yeah, when you frame it like that, the answer is pretty obvious, isn't it? All right, last one. Are UFOs piloted by little green men from another galaxy? Or are they just, perceptual mistakes, outright fakes, and, well, car parts? Shermer tells this great story about faking his own UFO photo with zero high-tech gear, just a friend, a camera, and a Buick hubcap he tossed in the air. The point is, before we say something is out of this world, we really have to make sure it's not from this world first.
So we've got confirmation bias, and we've got the logic of likelihood. The third major reason we believe weird things is because our brains are, at their core, pattern-seeking machines. We are absolutely hardwired to find meaningful patterns in random noise, and we're especially good at finding faces.
The classic example of this is the face on Mars. When this fuzzy, low-res picture came back from Mars in 1976, people were convinced it was some kind of giant monument built by Martians. Now, later on, clearer photos showed it was really just a regular old mesa. But here's the wild part. If you look at the new photo and you kind of squint, you can still see the face, because you're intentionally degrading the data and letting your pattern-seeking brain just take over. And this doesn't just happen on other planets. A baker down in Tennessee found what became famously known as the nun bun, a cinnamon roll that looked shockingly like Mother Teresa. He actually started charging people $5 a pop to come see it,
right up until he got a cease and desist letter from her lawyers. You really can't make this stuff up.
And then there's maybe the most famous example of all time, the Virgin Mary on a grilled cheese sandwich. This thing became so revered that a Las Vegas casino paid $28,500 for it on eBay. Our brains are so desperate to find these patterns that we see them in our lunch, and then we assign them huge monetary value. It's incredible.
But here's the real kicker. Who gets to decide what the pattern even is? I mean, is this a miracle of the Virgin Mary, or is it a miracle of Marge Simpson? See, the pattern isn't really in the object, it's in our interpretation of it.
Now, this whole pattern-seeking habit doesn't just apply to what we see. It has a dramatic effect on what we hear, too. And this is all because of a really powerful psychological effect called priming.
Okay, I want you to listen to a clip from a very famous rock song, but it's played backwards. Just listen, don't overthink it, and see if you can make out any words at all. Hear anything? Yeah, probably not, right? It's mostly just garbled noise.
Okay, now I'm going to prime your brain. I'm going to tell you exactly what you're supposed to hear. The alleged hidden message in this clip is, "Here's to my sweet Satan." Now I want you to listen to that exact same clip one more time.
You can't miss it now, right? It's suddenly crystal clear. But nothing about the audio actually changed. The only thing that changed was your brain's expectation. Once your brain was given a pattern to look for, bam, it found it. That is the incredible power of priming.
Now, I know this all might sound a little bit cynical, but Shermer actually ends his talk on a wonderfully hopeful note. You see, being a skeptic isn't about being negative or just tearing things down. It's about being open to changing your mind when you're faced with new evidence. And there is no better example of this than a scientific love song.
So, the British singer Katie Melua released a song with the lyric you see on the left. A physicist named Simon Singh heard it and wrote a very gentle correction, explaining that scientists actually have a really good estimate for that number. It's 13.7 billion light years, with very small error bars. Now, instead of getting defensive, Katie, who used to be in an astronomy club, was actually embarrassed she got it wrong, so she called him up and re-recorded the song with the more accurate lyrics you see on the right. How cool is that?
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. Science and skepticism aren't about knowing all the answers. They're about being willing to question our own assumptions, to notice our own biases, and to update our beliefs when we're presented with better evidence. And that leaves us with one final thought for you. What idea are you ready to reconsider?